And Solomon became allied by marriage to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David, till he had completed building his own house, the house of the Lord and the wall of Jerusalem round about. Only the people sacrificed in the high places, because there was no house built unto the name of the Lord until those days. Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. The king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings that Solomon offered upon that altar. In Gibeon the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I shall give you." Solomon said, "You have done your servant David my father great kindness, as he walked before you in truth and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with you. You have kept for him this great kindness, that you have given him a son to sit on his throne as it is this day. And now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king instead of David my father. And I am but a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. Your servant is in the midst of your people, which you have chosen, a great people, that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this, your great people?" The speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. God said to him, "Because you have asked this thing, and have not asked for yourself long life, neither have you asked riches for yourself, nor have you asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to your word. Behold, I have given you a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like you before you, nor after you shall any arise like you. And I have also given you that which you have not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like you all your days. And if you walk in my ways, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as your father David did walk, and I will lengthen your days." Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream, and he came to Jerusalem, and stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and offered up burnt offerings, and offered peace offerings, and made a feast for all his servants. Then came 2 women, harlots, to the king, and stood before him. One woman said, "O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I gave birth to a child with her in the house. It came to pass the 3rd day after I had given birth that this woman gave birth also, and we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, besides us 2 in the house. And this woman's son died at night, because she had lain on him. She arose in the middle of the night and took my son from beside me, while your handmaid slept, laid him in her bosom, and laid her dead son in my bosom. And I rose in the morning to nurse my son, and behold, he was dead. But I looked closely at him in the morning, and behold, it was not my son whom I had born." And the other woman said, "Not so. The living is my son, and the dead is your son." And this one said, "Not so. The dead is your son, and the living is my son." Thus they spoke before the king. The king said, "This one says, 'This is my son that lives.' Your son is the dead," and the other says, "Not so, your son is the dead, and my son is the living." The king said, "Fetch me a sword," and they brought a sword before the king. The king said, "Divide the living child in 2. Give half to the one and half to the other." And the woman whose son was the live one said to the king, for her compassion was aroused for her son, she said, "O my lord, give her the living child, and by no means slay him." But the other said, "Let it be neither mine nor yours, divide it." The king answered and said, "Give her the living child, and by no means slay him. She is his mother." And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment.